What's going on, Chris here? So we did part one of risk management and principles to live by, and it was basically just the fundamentals of learning and who we're learning from, and making sure that we're getting some sort of high quality information. High quality information is hard to come by. You either get it through just kind of an average of a lot of people, or a high quality person, someone that has something you want. If you can't get that person, then many advisors make victory sure. Iron sharpens iron. So just having a lot of people that you could talk to get some different aspects you might not see, to basically subsidize their experience and be able to use that as a simulation to apply to your life, as to cut the curve. And then you got the basically 4, 5, 6, 7 is the scientific method. It's basically that. And once we get on the front line, there's not a whole lot of new experience you can tap into without a huge barrier. You either have the barrier of getting to the high quality person, or you have the barrier of putting in the work, and that's through the scientific method. So that's part one of just risk management, is just learning and putting in the time to learn and actually learning, and not repeating this. What Gus Fring said: don't make the same mistake twice. How do you not make the same mistake twice? You learn. So part two, it's more practicals. We'll kind of open up. So it says, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Well, you first sit down and estimate the cost, see if you have enough money to complete it. For if you lay the foundation and are unable to finish it, everyone who sees you will ridicule you, saying this person began to build and was not able to finish. So that scripture, or that quote, is basically talking about building your relationship with God and counting the cost. It's basically the heading of what this is under, is counting the cost. So it's really interesting. It's talk about defining the risk, and if you can absorb it, or if you're willing to pay the cost, that it will come. And there's also an implication there that some costs will be undefined. And how are you going to approach that? That's kind of the implication in the Bible too, is that, hey, this cost might be a lot, and it might be something you can't really define, and you're going to have to find a way to live with it and develop some kind of strategy. And that brings us to the hybrid strategy, or pace, or automation. You can't really automate your relationship with God. In some ways you can, like alerts, or events like church, and small group, family group. But for the most part, you gotta walk the walk. Eventually you're gonna have to put in some effort, and you gotta come up. There's just going into the practicals, automation. So something that's really practical for other people is money and savings. So I'm going to bring up GPT and this book by Ramit Sethi, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And there's 10 practicals in this book. And the first one is to automate your savings. This is very kind of common sense, but having a separate account for that you don't really have access to, like say you have your regular bank account and you set up this ghost. It's basically a ghost account that doesn't have a card you have access to, and it takes a while to get the money out of the account. It's basically a savings account, but something you don't really see. And that's kind of his practical. He wants you to not FOMO on using the money now, but instead just having it so that you can't really get that money. You can if you really need to, but it's more for long-term investments and savings and emergencies. And he also says set up automatic transfers to investment accounts. And because money is so emotional, and there's the FOMO of using it now, the discipline to be able to accumulate your wealth might become difficult because you'll want to spend it. And that's why it would cap your risk, because you would separate yourself from the emotion. And that's used in trading too. In trading, we have entry bots, we have expert advisors for MetaTrader 4. For Ninja, it's a strategy. That's basically a trading bot, but it's a way to automate and remove the emotion to kind of make things more methodical, to where your system, your trading system, your discipline system has more success. It's hard to do it without automation, just because the heartstrings, man. Was it called capitulation into emotions is easy. Okay, PACE. PACE is a military acronym. PACE plan. It's a primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency plan. Planning is about mitigating risk by developing 3 backup plans. If the primary plan doesn't work, go to the alternate. If the alternate plan doesn't work, do the contingency. If the contingency plan fails, then you accomplish your mission with the emergency plan. So there's this video. They go into more of a deeper. I just wanted to find something that would talk about it online, and I Googled it, and that's the second link I got. And I like that. I like that you could use that for when you set up dates, when you set up plans, for with somebody whenever it's time to begin making my pizza. But yeah, like the PACE plan is very practical with anything you can apply it to, whether it's your finances, your investments, your trading strategy, the whole 9 yards. And then diversification in action by using a hybrid strategy. And this is kind of like home runs and Moneyball. So, you can think of this if you were talking about investing, growth versus value. Value could be the Moneyball. Value stocks usually have dividends, so it makes sense with Moneyball. And then home runs is like growth, like something you expect a lot of beta and growth from, and it's like your home run. And I like to do ratios with these, and whether it's Ray Dalio or Mark Minervini, they kind of think about, they like 55-45 or 50-50 or 60-40 is the traditional stock bond portfolio, and then I like 66-33 and then 80-20. Depending on how young you are, you could skew it to the more of the home run side. And then the older you get, you can skew it more towards the Moneyball side. But and then lastly, risk to reward ratio. And we read in the Bible about basically calculating your risk, making sure you have enough that you could absorb it in some way, and that's one way through the risk to reward ratio. You got to know the size of the reward and the size of the risk if you can find out a way to quantify it. If you can't, I like the hybrid strategy just because then you're able to automate and separate just things as you go. And that's about it. So, try to make this as practical as I could before I get into the trading version of what I'm learning about risk management and applying that and what I'm doing with Apex trading in the futures.